So hello and welcome back to my channel, Steve's Vlog, with my producer-in-chief and sidekick Pagan knocking around in the background somewhere, probably nicking one of the cushions. Yes, he's nicked one of the cushions. He's a little bugger for this. Honestly, the amount of times, I don't tell him off or anything like that, really, but if I've told him once, I've told him 100 times to stop nicking the cushions off the sofa, and he thinks it's a bit of a game. I don't know if you can see him there, just to my left in the background on the sofa. Yes, there's Mr. Innocent, but anyway. So I thought I'd do a quick, fairly short vlog today, nothing in particular. Really more for consistency on YouTube, getting out there and stuff. So really the main things, one, it's very, very hot. I think currently in my front room, even though I've got a couple of fans going, it's about 28. I've been taking Pagan very early in the morning, 5:30, taking for a good walk then, because it's literally too hot to take him the rest of the day. He's just panted, he's uncomfortable. I'm quite lucky, in front of my front door, it's like a little bit of an alcove before he goes upstairs or into the kitchen or into my front room. And it's reasonably dark in there. And I've just got a laminate down, and it's quite cool as well, so he normally stays there most of the day. Also, I've got his water fountain going, which I put ice cubes in, and I've got a dog bowl in the kitchen, which Kitten tends to drink out of more than anything else. And again, I keep putting fresh water in, cold fresh water. I am lucky I've got one of those sort of American fridges, double door freezer one side, fridge the other, and it's got a drinks dispenser on it and an ice maker, so it's easy to keep them nice and cool. But honestly, you look around, I look out my window sometimes and you see people still out walking dogs. You can even see the tarmac is starting to melt outside the front of my house, and yet people still walk the dogs. They might have a bottle of cold juice with them or something, but the dog's sort of got the tail down, being dragged behind and their ears are down, and you think, what are you on? Really, what are you on, Yes, if they're at a beach or something where they can get in the water, get cooled down, that's absolutely fine. And where I am, it's not too bad. I got a little wooded area just down the bottom of the road, and I can literally cross over the road, a few seconds across the road, and it's onto grass. But even say, I don't walk him during the day, especially in this heat. It's just not fair enough. And the amount of dogs, which suffer because of poor ownership through this, they suffered heat stroke, blistered paws, you name it. But it's one of those things. So, not a lot been going on. As you saw the video I put up the other day, I've got my new tent. Obviously got to wait for the bug sheet to arrive. It is in transit now. Should be here by the end of next week, which will be good. I've also seen another tent which I really like, but it's about 300 quid. And that's the canvas bell tent. Now, it's not as practical as the other ones, but I did have a 5 metre bell tent once, and that is glamping. You set these up and you stay in them for quite a while, a bit like a yurt or something else. You don't look and say, oh well, I'll go camping for a night and take one of them with you, even though they're fairly easy to put up, and it is sleeping under canvas, so it's a completely different feel, and they are quite a bit taller. And of course you can have a log fire in them, and they've got the pug net built, fly mesh built into the doors and everything. But that's the sort of thing, if you're going away camping for a week or so and you've got an area to put it up in, you would have one of those. I know they're absolutely lovely, they're brilliant. And I must admit, I am tempted by this, but also I've got to look at the practicality of it. You know, they are heavy to carry. So, you know, it's something that, would I get used to? Well, I probably would have, you know, I'd put it up in my back garden, have it up there for a while, but, you know, the campsite I don't think, I mean, it would be nice on my friend's campsite to put up there and leave it there. But again, that's getting a bit, I would say, you know, taking the pee a little bit out of it. So we'll just have to wait and see on that front. Like I say, I'm tempted to get it because I know how comfortable and useful they are for more longer term adventures. So we'll just see on that front. One little question which I did want to answer, which sort of brings it on to other things in terms of a little vlog today, is a lot of people, when I first started my channel, sort of subscribed because I was doing like a news channel. Yeah, I think, you know, I'm not into politics at all, but if I was into politics, I would say, you know, I'm right wing. Okay, that's just my personal choice. It's just that right wing things I'm not far right, but right wing things make a lot more sense than some of the left wing and, you know, the left wing lunacy politics we get. And because, you know, I'm getting on in age, I've got the ataxia, which prevents me and limits me from doing certain things. I couldn't get out there, you know, and actually do like some of the YouTubers do, where there's protests going on, you know, they get involved and everything else. So I thought, well, I could at least contribute by doing my own news channel. In all fairness, it was quite good. But two things that come off that was, one, I didn't realise, you know, again, my mental health was, because I was going into all this negative stuff and research it to make sure it's factually correct and everything, you get more stuff. I was just more of a negative mood. And as soon as I stopped doing it, my mood started to improve. You know, I got back into my outdoor stuff again, and it was a lot better. But I stopped also because, not so much of the negativity, but I was having concerns, because it's quite true today. You can see it all around you, no matter whether you're left wing, right wing, or whatever else. You know, freedom of speech is being taken away from us. And we suddenly see this on YouTube, where the government wants to run the algorithm so that only things they promote get to the top of the list and people get found. And of course, you know, some other big platforms on YouTube are, you know, complain about this and saying it's not fair, because I do think we're in today, with what's going on, people want to get the real news. They don't want this biased propaganda crap that BBC, Sky News and dribble like that puts out. And so they're turning to more to citizen journalists, because even if they're not representing a certain side, either left or right, the camera doesn't lie and the truth still gets out there. And the government don't want this. They want to control the narrative. And especially after Southport, you know, we saw the policies change, and there was a lot of people who were being put into jail, a lot more than what, you know, people actually know about, were being put into jail for stating their opinions, for saying things online. And of course, this is completely wrong. It's undemocratic. You know, we all have the right to express an opinion, you know, as long as it's not considered hate speech or something like that. But if you notice the way the government and the police really work, they will only target the more vulnerable people. You know, people who haven't got millions or hundreds of thousands of subscribers, because obviously to target them, somebody is going to notice very quickly that something's happened and will get the word out quickly that they have been arrested. And they know there's going to be uproar about it. So what they tend to do is go for more vulnerable, less known people like myself. You know, I didn't join YouTube, didn't create a channel to make money or anything like that, or fame or anything. You know, I'm certainly not any influencer. I'll go more into my reasons why I did my own channel in a little bit. But one thing that did concern me, even though I'm not worried myself personally about, you know, going to jail or something. You know, I was in the army 15 years. Christ, you know, it's a lot tougher in the army than what it is in jail. But it was the case, I was more concerned for Pagan and my cat Willow. Because I thought, well, you know, I live alone, I'm on my own. You know, I know it sounds a horrible thing to say, if I was to suddenly drop dead on the floor here, it'd probably be a couple of weeks until somebody noticed. You know, I can go a whole week at home here not speaking to anybody around me. It's just a fact, it's the way it is. You know, I'm not complaining about that. You know, I've got Pagan, I've got Willow, my cat, to keep me company, and they do a great job. You know, and I do like my own space, my own company, if you like. I'm not saying it wouldn't be nice to have somebody around, but, you know, it's what it is. I just get on with it. I can do my own things when I want, how I want. I don't have to answer to anything. But one thing that did concern me was, you know, for suddenly, as these other YouTubers were getting, at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, a sudden knock on the door, the police are there, you know, they realise you're not going to be missed, but we're going to make an example of you. Let's bang you in prison for 6 months for having an opinion. And that did concern me, because obviously then I thought, well, what about my cat? What about my dog? You know, and I know some people look at this and say, well, you just have to face up, you have to man up to it. Well, it's right saying that, but they may have family around who can take over their role for a bit. You know, I haven't. And I think one thing, if I ever did end up in prison, not that I will, you know, I'm law abiding, but obviously I would be upset to wonder what is going on with Pagan and Willow. And so, you know, I made a decision, you know, I'm not the right person to be doing it. Yes, I've got my own opinions, but I just keep them to myself. I don't get engaged with it anymore, don't talk about it or anything else. You know, I just live my own life. And, you know, any concerns I had or worries about it at that time, that yes, I could be targeted by certain groups for doing the news I was doing, could lead me to being reported and, you know, in trouble. And it was because of that I give up on a news channel. Like I say, my opinions, my views haven't changed. You know, they say, oh, they're the thought police, but literally they can't read your thoughts. So I took the videos down, I got rid of them. You know, it was just something I could do at the time. I mean, like I've always said in several vlogs, you know, a good thing, if you do have, let's say, mental welfare, you know, I've got PTSD and everything else. Yes, I've got limitations with the ataxia. It doesn't help. But I always find it good to talk about them, get them off your chest, sort of externalise them. Then you can look at each problem individually, you break them down, and then you can deal with them. And it's just a good thing to get it out in the open. I don't particularly want to sit in front of somebody else who says, oh, I've got a qualification, this, that, you know, yeah, you haven't even left the schoolyard, you whatever. Excuse me. You know, I managed to get it out there by doing my vlogs and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was the reason why I ended the news channel. I took the videos off, brought it down, because, you know, I just wanted to get on with my life peacefully. And for me, you know, nature is the greatest therapist of all. I like getting out into nature, and I like doing my vlogs like that. You know, and that's one of the main reasons I do my vlogging, because for me it's just a way, because I haven't got many people around me who I can talk to. You know, my son, my daughter, they've got their own lives to lead. They've got busy lives to lead and stuff like that. I do talk to my ex-wife, but obviously she's got a new life, a new partner, they're moving on with stuff. You know, I don't hold any hatred of that anymore. But yeah, you know, sometimes it does get lonely. You know, I talk to, obviously, my cat and my dog. It starts me feel like I'm going mad, sort of thing. But, you know, vlogging is another way to get that out there. And also, I think today, you know, when I look at it, I've got like a drawer full of old photographs which I picked up from my parents' house when they passed away, and I keep them here. You know, and all you've got is photographs. Well, in comparison today, most people have got, you know, mobile phones which got a camera on. We can leave so many more memories. And, you know, well, look at it, I know the ataxia isn't going to go away, it's going to get no better. And at some point, it is going to restrict me even further. I know that, you know, I accept that. You know, I'm doing a lot of things naturally now to help prevent it or to stop it coming on as fast. You know, I've even started doing a little bit of weight training. You know, I'm taking my spices and everything with my smoothie in the morning, and I'm feeling a lot better for it. And if it gives me another 10 years, then brilliant. But, you know, I know there's going to come a time when, you know, it will overtake me and limit me right down. It's an unfortunate thing, you know, I don't think that way all the time, but it is a fact. And rather than argue against it, it's easy to sort of accept. And, you know, I want something in the future, you know, if I get to that stage where I just can't get out, at least I can have some good memories to look back on and be able to look through my videos, bring back some nice memories. And also, because I also store all my videos on an external hard disk drive, you know, they can all go in there, and obviously then, you know, my son, my daughter, whatever, can take possession of that, and maybe, you know, the grandkids later on, they can watch it and see who Grandad was. You know, what we were going through, the times we were living in, and everything else. So, you know, that's why I like to do the vlog. It's more for some nostalgia and memories more than anything else. I don't vlog, you know, to get hundreds, thousands of views. It'd be nice, you know, it'd be nice to be monetized and make a bit of money off it. But I literally don't aim to do that. That's not the way or the reason why I set this up. So that's where we are today. That's why I do my vlogs. So I'm going to end this vlog here. Like I say, I'll just be rambling on about a few things, and I'm going to get uploaded. I'm going to please ask, you know, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, it's going to cost you nothing to click like and subscribe. And it does help me out, you know. Like I say, I'm not here to make money, I'm not here to get monetized, you know, I'm not bothered about anything like that. But to just be recognised that somebody's listening to me making these, you know, is a nice thing to know. There's other people out there. And, you know, if you think these videos might help somebody else, then please feel free to share. So yeah, I'm going to wrap the video up there. And again, today's video just to ramble on about anything because it's too hot to go out, do anything. So, you know, I just want to keep the algorithm going. You know, if you don't upload on a constant sort of basis, you know, things don't happen. So I thought, might as well do it, why not? So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.